Hi friends, welcome to Relay Tutorials that is relevant, easy learning, accessible to you. Today we are going to learn about a very interesting topic, infertility. How do we do the assessment of couple and manage it further? You can have this as a case in your OBGY practical examination. Secondly, a lot of people are encountering this issue, so maybe this video will help you understand and guide them in a better way. How do we define infertility? It is a disease of the reproductive system defined by the failure to achieve a clinical pregnancy after 12 months or 1 year or more of regular unprotected sexual intercourse. Primary infertility is when the couple has never conceived, a woman of reproductive age who has not conceived after 1 year of unprotected vaginal sexual intercourse. In the absence of any known cause of infertility, should be offered further clinical assessment and investigation along with her partner. I would like to emphasize here that this video will be following the NICE guidelines or RCOG guidelines, and there will be references from WHO. Secondary infertility means that the couple has experienced a pregnancy before and failed to conceive later. If you look at the global burden of the disease among the various regions of the world, Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa have the highest prevalence of infertility. Available data indicate that at least 50 million couples experience infertility worldwide. Globally, it affects 15% couples of reproductive age. There was a report from 2006 to 2010 National Survey of Family Growth which estimated that 6% of married females between 15 to 44 years in the United States are infertile and 12% have impaired fecundity, which is defined as inability to conceive and carry a baby to term. According to Indian Society of Assisted Reproduction or ISAR, infertility currently affects about 10 to 14% of the Indian population, with higher rates in urban areas where 1 out of 6 couples is affected. How do we make a diagnosis? How do we reach to a diagnosis? Because it is actually not some sort of an acute illness which will bring with it a lot of symptoms and signs. So you have to take it in a very stepwise manner. Evaluation would include history taking, followed by clinical examination and then investigations. And both male and female factors can contribute to infertility. So you have to take a couple in toto. Couples are interviewed separately as well as together to know about important facts with full history taking, which includes present history, menstrual and obstetric history in female partner, contraceptive and sexual history, along with family and past. Clinical examination would include full clinical examination of both the partners, including general along with systemic and genitalia, which will help you in reaching a provisional diagnosis. Couples are usually advised to start their investigations after 1 year of trying to conceive or after 6 months if the female partner is more than 35 years old, or immediately if there is an obvious cause for their infertility. Though we have spoken about history taking in our previous videos in detail, but I would still like to emphasize few relevant and important points which you should not miss while taking history in female partner. Age is a very important decisive factor. Then what is the education and occupation of the female, the type of stress level she undergoes, the type of work she does, if there is any exposure to any toxins, and if her work or occupation is associated to a sedentary lifestyle leading to obesity. Menstrual history, menarche attained, and how's the duration and length of her cycle, whether they are painful or painless. Painful cycles generally indicate towards ovulatory cycles. Marital history, again very important. What is the total duration of active marriage? Sometimes a couple might just say that they're married for 5 years, but they're actually cohabiting or they're actually staying together for last 2 years or 1 year, because initially they were in different cities or they were just married but completing their education and all. So it is very important to ask the total duration of active married life and if they have initially used any method of contraception. They might be trying for last 6 months, married for a year, and initial 6 months they were using some contraception. So you have to consider that factor. Sexual history, what is the frequency? What is the frequency? If there is any history of dyspareunia, that is painful coitus, superficial or deep, any history of usage of lubricants and topical creams, which can be very detrimental to sperms. Obstetric history, any conception which may include miscarriage, ectopic, anything. It might not have converted to a term pregnancy or a live birth, but if there is any history of pregnancy, you need to ask that, and how it was managed. Past medical history, all the chronic diseases like hypertension, diabetes, especially tuberculosis and thyroid disorder are important to be asked. And if there is any chronic disease, is she on any current medication for the same? You need to point out that. Past surgical history, if there is any history of diagnostic laparoscopy, hysteroscopy or laparotomy done in past. Sometimes patients go to different doctors, different, in clinics or hospitals. They might have taken some management earlier in a different setup. You need to ask that. That will be very relevant in present scenario. Any history of laparotomy, even if it was during her childhood days, like appendicectomy or any, laparotomy done for bowel obstruction, because such sort of surgeries can lead to adhesions, and those adhesions or those pelvic adhesions can lead to a distorted tubo-ovarian anatomy. That is why it is very important to ask surgical history. Family history, again we have to repeat the history of all the chronic diseases in the family along with history of infertility, PCOS, that is polycystic ovarian syndrome, any gynecological cancers, fibroids, age of menopause in her sibling, mother, or even first cousins, history of premature ovarian failure are important points which need to be asked. If you'll take this towards the third step, that is investigations, I'll just quickly revise the basic anatomy of a female reproductive system. There is a uterus, 2 fallopian tubes, 2 ovaries, and of course the external genitalia. For a conception to occur, it is very important that a female ovulates. She has a regular cycle, and somewhere in the mid-cycle, ovulation is taking place. And then patent fallopian tubes. Both the tubes should be patent, or at least one tube should be patent, where actually the fertilization takes place. And then finally the implantation of embryo inside the uterine cavity. So it is very important to have a regular, normal uterine cavity. Any presence of any pathology like polyp or submucous fibroid can lead to a defective implantation or an implantation failure. So to detect the ovarian function to begin with, women's age is an initial predictor of her overall chance of success through natural conception, or if we take up any ART technique like IVF. There are 2 basic tests for the same. One is serum AMH values and second is antral follicle count on TVS. Hormonal assay include early follicular FSH and LH levels and mid-luteal progesterone levels. Transvaginal ultrasonography will not only count these antral follicles, but it is also used to detect any abnormality in the uterus and adnexal region, that is the adjoining anatomical parts, that is tube and ovary. Evaluation of tubal patency. Now we have seen the ovarian function. How do we look into the tubal patency? One basic test is hysterosalpingography. It is a radiological procedure where radiopaque dye is injected into the uterus through the cervix, and simultaneously X-ray pictures are taken to see the movement of dye into the fallopian tubes. If there is spilling of dye into the cavity or into the peritoneal cavity, and it is reflected or it is captured by the X-ray, that will give you an idea the tubes are patent. Advanced investigations will include hormonal assay. If there are any symptoms which go in favor of thyroid disorder or there is a history of galactoria, then you should take up TFTs, that is thyroid function test, prolactin levels. If there are features of acne or facial hair growth, you can take up tests like free androgen index, serum testosterone. Laparoscopy is a surgical procedure which is used to visualize abdominal and pelvic organs. Hysteroscopy is indicated for intrauterine space occupying lesions which are incidentally detected on your hysterosalpingography and TVS. So to confirm them, or if I would put it as gold standard, would be a hysteroscopy. Chromosomal karyotyping, it is used for suspected genetic disorders. Now let us move on to evaluation of male partner. We have discussed the details of history taking, but here I am only trying to emphasize the points which you should not miss while taking the history. Again, the age of the male is important and his education level, because that will guide you in further managing the couple. Occupation, environmental factors like heat are very important because they have a direct effect on semen parameters. Whether the partner is into heavy or light work hours, if his occupation involves any exposure to toxins like rubber and dye industry, radiation, or lead plants. In past medical history, along with various chronic diseases, do not forget to ask about chronic gastritis, or another very important is sexually transmitted diseases. So you have to take history of any penile ulcer, any scrotal swelling, any inguinal swelling or in lymphadenopathy, if he's ever been into STI clinic, and childhood history of mumps, because that can lead to orchitis, that can lead to testicular damage. Past surgical history. Apart from other surgical history which we take in every patient, you must not miss asking about any hydrocele or hernia repair, orchidectomy or orchidopexy, which can be done if a male child is born with cryptorchidism, any testicular or scrotal trauma and injury in the past. Family history, you have to repeat history of all the chronic diseases along with genetic disorders, carcinomas, and infertility in siblings if they are facing a similar problem in their life. Personal history, here the addiction is very important, including smoking, alcohol, substance abuse, tobacco chewing, and diet. Sexual history, again, as I mentioned earlier, the frequency, and a female partner can experience a superficial or deep dyspareunia, while in a male partner you must not forget to ask it in a very dignified manner if he's suffering from any erectile dysfunction, history of premature ejaculation, if he has ever taken any treatment for the same, and history of usage of lubricants during coitus. There are guidelines issued by American Urological Association for examination and investigations. A general physical examination is an integral part for the evaluation. But in addition to general physical examination, particular focus should be given to genitalia, including examination of the penis, which includes the location of urethral meatus, palpation of the testes and measurement of their size so that you get an idea about the normal volume, presence and consistency of both the vasa and epididymis, presence of any varicocele, and look into the development of secondary sexual characters, which include body habitus, hair distribution, and breast development. A digital rectal examination can give you an idea about the prostate size. This examination should ideally be done by a urologist or an andrologist or by a surgeon. Semen analysis, it is the most important parameter. It should be conducted as part of the initial assessment, should be compared with the following reference values of World Health Organization 2010 criteria, Semen volume 1.5 or more, pH 7.2 or more. Sperm concentration, minimum cutoff limit is 15 million spermatozoa per ml. So it should be equal to or more than that. Total sperm number 39 million spermatozoa per ejaculate or more. Total motility, percentage of progressive motility and non-progressive. So 40% or more motile or 32% or more with progressive motility. Vitality 58% or more live spermatozoa. Sperm morphology, this is again a very important parameter. 4% or more should be normal forms, as in the head, tail, middle piece, everything of a sperm should be normal. A repeat confirmatory test should ideally be taken 3 months after the initial analysis to allow time for the cycle of spermatozoa formation to be completed. If there is a gross finding, azoospermia or severe oligozoospermia, the repeat test should be undertaken as soon as possible. Then there are other additional investigation similar to the female partner, like hormonal assay. So for a male with abnormal semen analysis, or you are suspecting any underlying endocrine disorder, you should take off FSH, LS, testosterone, TSH and prolactin. USG examination, if on physical examination you suspect any scrotal swelling, a USG scrotum should be taken to confirm that, to identify the pathology, the underlying pathology. Testicular biopsy should be taken if there is a semen analysis report suggestive of azoospermia. So a fine needle aspiration biopsy to differentiate between obstructive and non-obstructive. If biopsy suggests you spermatogenesis taking place normally, then obviously it is a case of obstructive. If there is no spermatogenesis, then it goes in favor of non-obstructive. That is, no spermatogenesis is taking place at all. Chromosomal karyotyping. While history taking, if you suspect there is an underlying family history of genetic disorders, this can be advised. The tests which were earlier recommended or mentioned about the various old textbooks are no longer recommended. These include anti-sperm antibodies and postcoital testing of cervical mucus. Newer diagnostic tests have come up related to sperm viability, morphology and DNA integrity, but then this is beyond the scope of undergraduate learning at present. What should be your initial advice to such a couple? First, you need to tell them that those who are concerned about their fertility, that over 80% of couples in the general population will conceive within 1 year if the woman is under 40 years of age and they are not using any contraception and having regular frequency of sexual intercourse. And of those who do not conceive in the first year, about half will do so in the second year. So the cumulative pregnancy rate is over 90% after 2 years. Some occupations which involve exposure to hazards which can reduce male or female fertility, a specific inquiry about occupation should be made, and people who are concerned about fertility, an appropriate advice should be offered to them. Counseling of both the partners is an important aspect in the management, with required medical and psychological support. They need to adopt healthy eating habits, adding more whole grain products, fresh fruits, vegetables, limited processed foods and foods with added sugars. Eating a diet low in cholesterol and saturated fat should be advised. Promote regular exercise, no smoking, even avoid passive smoking. Limit your alcohol intake. Maintain a healthy weight. It is a very important guideline that a BMI should not be over 30 or less than 19, because that make your chances to conceive even lower. Folic acid supplementation in females should be started. Advice on rubella vaccination if they are seronegative, and treatment of psychosexual problems if the sexual history gives you certain hint towards them. Specific management. Female partner, our goal is to make sure that she ovulates. So there are various stimulation protocols for the same, using clomiphene citrate, drugs like letrozole, tamoxifen, and then you have to do a follicular study using an ultrasound to monitor the growth of those follicles and when the ovulation is taking place. And thus, once you're sure of ovulation, you can time their intercourse, or you can advise them a timed intercourse. You need to correct any underlying disorder found like hypothyroidism, hyperprolactinemia, PCOS, diabetes, etc. Tubal pathology. Second important part, as I discussed while discussing the investigations, that the patency of tube is very important. At least one tube should be patent. So if the history or examination is going in favor of pelvic inflammatory disease, it has a medical management in form of antibiotics. But if you're suspecting a TO mass or endometriomas or fibroids or a HSG suggestive of a tubal block, then these patients can step up to second level of investigation, that is diagnostic and operative laparoscopy. Male partner, treat the underlying pathology if found on physical examination or investigations. Details are beyond undergraduate teaching, that is not expected from undergraduate students. Remember the advanced treatment option. You should be at least able to name them. Artificial reproductive techniques, the couples who do not get success following the various stimulation protocols and timed intercourse and treating the underlying disorders, they need to step up to advanced treatment options, which include intrauterine insemination, especially with patients with male factor infertility and mild endometriosis. Then there is IVF and ICSI, and a limited number of couples may also have to resort to third party donation, surrogacy and adoption, especially the elderly couples. That is in brief about infertility, how you need to assess and manage them, what all advice you can give an infertile couple. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching it, and if you liked it, do like, share and subscribe.